everyone. In this chapter, we are going to understand public revenue, what is tax, the reason behind switching to GST from direct and indirect taxes, the two main sources of it, that is tax revenue and non-tax revenue, with its bifurcation, importance and classification of public revenue. Also, we will see its advantages and disadvantages and how can public revenue be generated more efficiently. Let's start from the basic. What is a public revenue? Now, public revenue is the income that the government receives from various sources to finance its activities and provide public goods and services. Public revenue is an important concept of public finance, which is the branch of economics that studies how the government manages its resources and expenditures. Public revenue plays a crucial role in determining the fiscal policy of the government, which affects the macroeconomic performance and the welfare of the country. There are two main sources of public revenue, tax revenue and non-tax revenue. But before understanding tax revenue, let's first understand what is tax. Tax is a compulsory financial charge imposed by a government on an individual or business entity to support public services and goods provided by the government. It is usually a percentage of income, value or profits of a person or business, or a fixed amount of certain goods and services. Tax is the amount of money that the government charges to citizens and businesses to provide public goods and services to the society. Here are some examples of it. Income tax. This is the tax that individual pays on their income, such as salary, wages and bonuses. Sales tax. This is the tax that consumers pay on goods and services they purchase, such as clothing, electronics and food at restaurants. Property tax. This is the tax that property owners pay on the value of their land and buildings. Corporate tax. This is the tax that businesses pay on their profits. Excise tax. This is the tax that is imposed on specific goods such as tobacco and alcohol. These taxes are used by the government to fund public goods and services such as roads, school, hospitals and public safety programs. The amount of tax a person or business pays is typically based on their income or the value of their assets. Some people and businesses may be eligible for tax breaks or exemption based on their circumstances. Overall, taxes are an essential part of a functioning society and are used to support the public's good. The reason behind changing the taxes from indirect and direct to GST is to simplify the taxation system, remove cascading effect, increase revenue for the government and promote ease of doing business. GST stands for Goods and Service Tax, which is a consumption based tax levied on the supply of goods and services. It is an indirect tax that is collected by the businesses on behalf of the government and is based on the value added at each stage of production and distribution. The GST system is designed to replace multiple indirect taxes such as excise duty, value added tax, VAT and service tax with a single tax system. GST has been implemented in many countries including India, Canada, Australia and Malaysia among others. In India, GST was introduced on July 1, 2017 and is administered by the Goods and Service Tax Council, which is made up of representatives from the central and state governments. Under the GST system, there are 4 tax slabs, 5, 12, 18 and 28%, with some items being taxed at a lower or higher rate. GST has helped to streamline the taxation system and has reduced the cascading effects of taxes, resulting in a more efficient and transparent tax system. GST has also helped to improve compliance and reduce tax evasion by providing a single registration and tax return filing system for businesses. However, the implementation of GST has also faced some challenges, including the complex compliance requirements for small businesses and the need for a robust IT infrastructure to support the system. Overall, GST is an important tax reform that has the potential to boost economic growth by simplifying the tax system, reducing the cost of compliance and improving tax collection efficiency. Let us study what is tax revenue. Tax revenue is the income that the government collects from individuals and businesses by imposing compulsory charges on their income, wealth, consumption, production or transactions. Tax revenue is the main source of public revenue for most governments, as it provides a stable and predictable flow of income that can be used to finance public expenditure and reduce public debt. Here are some features of tax revenue. Tax revenue is compulsory and does not depend on the consent or willingness of the taxpayers. Tax revenue does not create any direct obligation or benefit for the taxpayer, unlike fees or prices. Tax revenue is based on the ability to pay principle, which means that those who have more income or wealth should pay more taxes than those who have less. Tax revenue is used for general purpose such as providing public goods and services, redistributing income and wealth, correcting market failures, stabilizing the economy, etc. There are various types of taxes that the government can impose to generate tax revenue. Some of the common types of taxes are union excise duty. These are taxes levied on the production or manufacture of goods within the country. They are collected by the central government and are mainly imposed on petroleum products, tobacco products, alcoholic beverages, etc. Customs. These are taxes levied on the import or export of goods across the country's borders. They are collected by the central government and are mainly imposed to protect domestic industries, regulate foreign trade, raise revenue, etc. GST tax. This is the tax levied on the supply of goods and services within the country. It is collected by both central and the state government and replace various indirect taxes such as sales tax, service tax, value added tax, etc. It aims to create a uniform and integrated tax system that reduces tax evasion and cascading effects. Income tax. This is a tax levied on the income earned by an individuals and businesses in a financial year. It is collected by the central government and is based on progressive rates, which means that higher income earner pay higher tax rate than the lower income earners. Corporation tax. This is the tax levied on the profit earned by companies in a financial year. It is collected by the central government and is based on flat rates, which means that all companies pay the same tax rate regardless of their sizes or sectors. Wealth tax. It is a tax levied on the net wealth owned by individuals and businesses in a financial year. It is collected by the central government and is based on progressive rates, which means that higher wealth owners pay higher tax rates than the lower wealth owners. Gift tax. This is a tax levied on the transfer of property or money by one person to another without any consideration or compensation. It is collected by the central government and is based on progressive rates, which means that higher value gifts pay higher tax rate than the lower value gifts. Capital gain tax. This is the tax levied on the profit or loss made by selling or transferring capital assets such as land, building, shares, bonds, etc. It is collected by central government and is based on different rates, which means that different types of capital gains pay different tax rates depending on their holding period, nature, etc. Hotel expenditure tax. This is the tax levied on the expenditure incurred by staying in hotels or similar establishments. It is collected by the state government and is based on flat rates, which means that all the hotel guests pay the same tax rate regardless of their expenditure level. Tax on foreign travel. This is the tax levied on the expenditure incurred by travelling abroad for any purpose. It is collected by the central government and is based on flat rates, which means that all the travellers pay the same tax rate regardless of their expenditure level. While talking about the non-tax revenue is the income that the government receives from the sources other than taxes. Non-tax revenue includes income from public enterprises, administrative activities, grants and gifts, fines and penalties, etc. Non-tax revenue is usually less stable and predictable than tax revenue, as it depends on various factors such as market conditions, demand and supply, government policies, etc. Some of the major sources of non-tax revenue are mentioned as interest receipts. These are the income that the government earns by lending money to various entities such as state government, union territories, public sector undertakings, foreign government, international organizations, etc. Interest receipts are a source of non-tax revenue for the central government as well as the state government. Second, surplus profit of the Reserve Bank of India. These are the income that the government receives from central bank of the country, which is the Reserve Bank of India. The RBI transfer its surplus profit to the central government and after meeting its operations and contingency expenses. The surplus profit of the RBI depend on various factors such as interest rates, exchange rate, inflation, monetary policies, etc. Currency, coinage and mint. These are the income that the government earns by issuing currency and coins in the country. The government has the sole authority to issue currency and coins in India. The difference between the face value and the cost of production of currency and coins is known as seigniorage, which is the source of non-tax revenue for the government. The government also earns income by minting commemorative coins and selling them to collectors. Railways. These are the income that the government earn by operating railways in the country. Railways are one of the largest public sector enterprises in India. The government earns revenue from railways by charging fares from passengers, freight charges from goods transporters, advertising fees from advertisers, etc. Profits of public enterprises. These are the income that the government earns by owning and managing various public sectors undertaking PSUs in different sectors such as oil and gas, power, steel, coal, telecommunication, banking, insurance, etc. The government earns revenue from PSUs by receiving dividend, interest payments, royalties, fees, etc. Other non-tax sources of revenue are, these are the income that the government earns from various other sources such as fees, fines, penalties, licenses, permits, donations, grants, gifts, etc. These are the sources of non-tax revenue vary from sector to sector and from level to level of government. Let's see why public revenue is important. Public revenue plays a crucial role in country's economy. The revenue collected by the government is used to fund various programs and initiatives that benefits the citizens of the country. Some of the most common uses of public revenue include infrastructural development. Government use public revenue to build and maintain critical infrastructures such as roads, bridges and public transport system. This infrastructure is essential for economic development and helps to improve the quality of life for citizens. Social programs. Government also use public revenue to fund social programs such as healthcare, education and housing. These programs helps to provide essential services to citizens and improve their overall well-being. Defense. Government also use public revenue to fund their defense system. This include everything from maintaining a military to funding intelligence agencies and cyber security initiatives. Public safety. Government also use public revenue to fund public safety initiatives such as law enforcement and emergency response services. There are different ways of classifying public revenue based on different criteria such as origin, nature, purpose, etc. Some of the common classification of public revenue are: according to Taylor's classification, public revenue can be classified into 4 categories: grants and gifts. These are the voluntary contribution made by individuals or organizations to government without expecting any return or benefit. Taxes. These are the compulsory payments made by an individual or businesses to the government without receiving any direct benefit or services in return. Administrative revenues. These are the payments made by individuals and businesses to the government for receiving some specific services or benefits such as fees, fines, penalties, license, permit, etc. Commercial revenues. These are the payment made by the government for providing some commercial goods or services such as railway, electricity, postal services, etc. According to Dalton's classification, public revenue can be classified into 2 categories. Taxes. These are the compulsory payment made by an individual or a business to government without receiving any direct benefits or services in return. Prices. These are the voluntary payment made by an individual or the businesses to the government for receiving some specific goods and services in return. Taxes are subdivided into taxes in the ordinary sense. These are the taxes that are levied on the basis of ability to pay principal such as income tax, wealth tax, etc. Tribute and indemnities. These are the taxes that are levied on a defeated country by a victorious country as a penalty or compensation for war damages. Special assessment. These are the taxes that are levied on some specific properties or person who benefit from some public works or improvements such as road tax, drainage tax, etc. Prices are subdivided into fees. These are the payment made by an individual or businesses to the government for receiving some administrative services such as registration, license, passports, etc. Quasi fees. These are the payments made by the individuals or businesses to the government for receiving some regulatory services such as inspection, testing, certifications, etc. Special prices. These are the payment made by individuals or businesses to the government for receiving some special gifts. What are the advantages of public revenue? The advantages of public revenue are funding public services. Public revenue is used to fund essential public services such as education, healthcare, infrastructure and public safety. For example, the government uses tax revenue to fund public schools, hospitals and roads. Reducing inequality. Public revenue can be used to implement policies that help reduce inequalities in the society such as progressive taxation and social welfare programs. For example, the government may provide financial assistance to low income families to help them pay for basic needs like food, housing and healthcare. Encouraging economic growth. By investing in the infrastructure and education, public revenue can help create an environment that encourages economic growth. For example, the government may invest in buildings, new highways or airports, which can attract new businesses and create job opportunities. Supporting research and development. Public revenue can be used to fund research and development in areas such as medicine, technology and renewable energy. This can lead to new innovations and discoveries that benefit society as a whole. Ensuring stability. Public revenue can help provide stability during times of crisis or economic downturn. For example, the government may provide financial assistance to businesses and individuals during a recession to help stimulate the economy and prevent a deeper downturn. What are the disadvantages of public revenue? Negative impact on businesses and individuals. Public revenue can have a negative impact on businesses and individuals, especially if the tax rates are high or if regulations are too strict. Inefficient use of resources. Public revenue can be used inefficiently if the government does not use it wisely. For example, if the government invests in the projects that do not provide any real benefits to the society, then public revenue is being wasted. Limited resources. Public revenue is limited by the size of the economy and the tax base. If the economy is not growing or if the tax base is too small, then the government may not be able to collect enough revenue to finance its expenditures. How can public revenue be generated more efficiently? To generate public revenue more efficiently, governments can simplify tax codes. Simplifying tax codes may make it easier for the individual and the businesses to comply with tax laws, reducing compliance cost and improving efficiency. Streamline government operations. Government can streamline operations to reduce bureaucracy and improve efficiency. This can include reducing redundant services and consolidating government agencies. Use technology. Government can leverage technologies such as online portals and electronic payments to make it easier and more efficient for taxpayer to pay their taxes and for government agency to manage revenue collection and distribution. Reduce tax evasion and frauds. Government can invest in measures to reduce tax evasion and frauds, such as by strengthening enforcement and implementing penalties for non-compliance. Encourage private investment. Governments can encourage private investment by creating a favorable business environment, reducing red tape and providing incentives for investment. In summary, public revenue is critical to financing government operations and promoting economic development. Government can generate public revenue through various means, including taxations, fees, fines, income from government-owned enterprises, privatization and borrowings. Public revenue can be used to promote economic growth, improve social welfare and reduce poverty. However, there are also potential disadvantages to public revenue, including inefficiency and distortion of incentives. Government can generate public revenue more efficiently by simplifying tax codes, streamlining operation, using technologies, reducing tax evasion and frauds, and encouraging private investments. Let's just take 5 minutes and have a look on what we have learned from the lecture today. What is public revenue? What is a tax revenue? Its features and its types. What is tax? The reason behind switching to GST from direct and indirect taxes. What is a non-tax revenue? Its sources. We have seen why public revenue is important. We saw the different ways in which Public revenue is classified based on different criteria such as origin, nature, purpose, etc. Advantages and disadvantages of public revenue. How can public revenue be generated more efficiently? Thanks for joining me for this lecture on public revenue. I hope you found it helpful and informative. Thank you.